Quran says about the women, وَقَرْنَ فِي بُيُوتِكُنَّ. So many people translate that قَرْنَ فِي بُيُوتِكُنَّ أي إِقْرَرْنَ. قَرَّ يَقَرَّ. To إِقْرَرْنَ, and the ra has been dropped. To قَرْنَ فِي بُيُوتِكُنَّ means stay in your home, inside the house. To say is a command from Quran that women should stay in the house. So on this explanation, I have got a few questions. First thing is, if qarna fi buyutikunna means to stay inside the house, then why Quran says after that, wala tabarrajna tabarruj al-jahiliyyat al-ula. Tabarraja means to go and to reveal your beauty, to show the people, to don't go and to show your beauty and your attraction like people used to do in Jahiliyyah. In Jahiliyyah, women used to go outside, with the beauty and with attraction, to attract the men. The Quran says don't do that. Don't go outside, to do this thing. So they don't fit together, because if command is to stay at home, then second command actually has no meaning. If Quran said to the women, stay at home, and that is your place, then why Quran has to say to the women, don't go outside, revealing your beauty and your attraction like people used to do in the past? Because second verse means that you can go out, but don't be like that. Isn't it like that? When Quran says don't go outside revealing your beauty and your attraction like people used to do in the past. If you read that verse, it means women can go out, but they should not go, in a cloth or with a perfume which can attract the men or something like that. But they can go out. The first verse and these two sentences, they don't fit together. Is it clear to everybody? To first understand really, the people who say karna means stay at home. My question is, does not fit there, because they're two different commands and they are not coherent. They contradict each other. So what can be the meaning? Meaning actually is in Surah Al-Ahzab itself. Because Surah Al-Ahzab says that women inside the house, they should behave properly. Meaning is they should be modest, and when the men come to the house, إِذَا سَأَلْتُمُهُنَّ مَتَاعًا فَاسْأَلُوهُنَّ مِنْ وَرَاءِ حِجَابٍ. Women should not be exposed to the men inside the house. Women have their own normal clothes, which are attractive. So when men come to inside the house, women should be with waqar, meaning it, they should not see them, and they should ask anything from behind the curtain. And then when women go outside, they should not expose like Jahiliyyah. To what they do for that? يُدْنِينَ عَلَيْهِنَّ مِنْ جَلَابِيبِهِنَّ. So basically, the Surah Al-Ahzab itself explains what it means. قَرْنَ فِي بُيُوتِكُنَّ and لَا تَبَرَّجْنَ. لَا تَبَرَّجْنَ means when you go outside, go with jilbab. No perfume like jilbab. So don't wear tabarruj. And qarna means that is the hijab thing. So qarna actually is not from qarra. Because from qarra in Arabic it should be iqrarna. There's no other way. If you make amr from word farra yafirru, if you make amr, it will be firra. Firra, firra, firru, firri, firra, ifrirna. From mad amr will be mudda, mudda, muddu, muddi, mudda, umdudna. For women, umdudna. From qarra, amr will be iqrarna. And Quran does not say iqrarna. Quran is saying qarna. So from which letter will be this amr? So for example, like, if you say, like, you make amr, like wathiqa yathiqu, make amr. Thiq, thiqa, thiqu, thiqi, thiqa, thiqna. So what will the root letter? Waw, tha, qaf. So when amr happens, you drop the waw, it becomes thiqna. Is it clear to everybody? So thiqna is from wathiqa yathiqu, not from thaqqa yathiqu. It is from wathiqa yathiqu. So when Quran says qarna, how can be from qarra? It will be from waqara. What waqar means in Arabic language? Waqar means to be, waqar means like a load. Like, load means like you carry load, that's waqar. Like a camels used to carry load. When you have got load, what happens is, you're not dancing, you're not enjoying, basically you're under burden. So waqara basically means to be like serious. Be careful. That's what waqar means. Life of waqar means seriousness, carefulness. So Quran wants to say, qarna fi buyutikun. When you are at home, be with waqar. When you leave the house, then don't do tabarruj. Means don't expose, don't put on jilbab. So basically, qarna fi buyutikunna is explanation of the verse, إِذَا سَأَلْتُمُهُنَّ فَاسْأَلُوهُنَّ إِذَا سَأَلْتُمُهُنَّ مَتَاعًا فَاسْأَلُوهُنَّ مِنْ وَرَاءِ حِجَابٍ. And يُدْنِينَ عَلَيْهِنَّ مِنْ جَلَابِيبِهِنَّ is explanation of the verse, لَا تَبَرَّجْنَ تَبَرُّجَ الْجَاهِلِيَّةِ الْأُولَى. So when women are inside the house, they should be with waqar. Means for outsiders, not for, if women are with the husband, they will do as like, for outsiders inside the house, they have to have waqar. When they leave the house, they put on jilbab and they don't do tabarruj. Is it clear to everybody? So the command for karna is when outsiders come to the house, then there should be seriousness, they should reserve themselves. They're not like open like anything else. But when there are no outsiders, they go outside themselves. They can go. But when they go, they have to put on jilbab. That's why when Umar insisted that wives of the Prophet should not even be allowed to go for human needs, the Prophet did not listen to Umar. And actually then revelation came that no, they can go. And the Prophet said to Umar, to his wives, قَدْ أُذِينَ لَكُنَّ فِي الْخُرُوجِ. It is allowed for you to go outside. The people don't understand what Quran. And also another thing is, I always say to the people, when you read the Quran, see what the Prophet did. And when Medina is basically amal of Quran. After this verse, what women did in Medina? Did they stay in home? Did it happen? Actually, they're going for war. War is more exposure. They go and fight. Actually, in the time of Umar Yarmouk, 35 women are fighting. They go for war, they go travel, they do wudu outside with them, they go for shopping. Asma bint Abi Bakr used to have farm outside Medina in a Jewish settlement. They do business, they do trade, they walk in the street, and Prophet meets them, the salam, and all those, everything there. So how it is possible that the Quran said that you stay at home and they don't stay at home? They are the first people to obey the Quran. It means a meaning not what you think. And that meaning is so corrupt really. One preacher in Egypt, I read actually about him. He used to preach, women are not allowed to come out except 3 times. First is when they come out from the womb of the mother. Second time when they come out from the house of their husbands, from the house of their parent to go to the house of the husband, when they get married basically. And the third time when they die and the body comes out from the house of the husband to go to the grave. This only 3 times. So when they born, when they are married to go to house of husband, and third time when they die and go to the grave. Other than these 3 times, women are not allowed to come out. Actually, Quran mentions this worst punishment in the Quran. فَأَمْسِكُوهُنَّ فِي الْبُيُوتِ. Keeping women in the house is punishment in the Quran. Worst punishment. Worse than actually stoning and lashes. Because the Quran said this punishment will remain until solution comes. And solution is what? Stoning. Keeping women in the house basically is worse than stoning them. So the Quran never comes out like that. And if you don't want to understand, just see what the Prophet did. Because the Prophet, the first person to apply the Quran. Is it clear? This is my explanation actually is based in the context of Suratul Ahzab. In Suratul Ahzab, these 2 commands are very clear. When outsiders come to the house, then women should not mix them like with their own family. There should be a barrier. So this hijab is for the men. And when women go outside, then they put on jilbab. So there is no jilbab for the women inside the house. Inside the house, it is their freedom. Men has to have hijab. So one command is for the men and one for women. Inside the house, for outsiders, they make sure that they don't enter the house. They have to make sure they are from behind the curtain. When women leave the house, then they have to be careful and put on jilbab. That's what means قَرْنَ فِي بُيُوتِكُنَّ وَلَا تَبَرَّجْنَ تَبَرُّجَ الْجَاهِلِيَّةِ الْأُولَى. Is it clear? If any question ask, otherwise we move. And I think people should actually learn this meaning. Reason is for this meaning because I don't really think qarna means yaqranna. Okay, to so many hasf, and there is no reason for the hasf.
Jazakallah khair, Sheikh. Sheikh, why can't we read both ayahs as being compatible in a sense that the women should stay in their house, and that's the advice. But if they do go out, then they should pull their jilbab towards them. So the option one being the preferred.
Then this command does not mean anything. When you say stay at home, it does not mean anything.
It's similar to, when people say some ayahs in the Quran are mansukh, and previously you've discussed this, and you said not necessarily mansukh, but we interpret them with a different meaning. And one of it is the ayah, Allah is haram alaykum al-khamar. And also لا تقرب الزنا لا تقرب الصلاة وأنتم سقارى. And you say alcohol is haram for Muslims. But we can understand the second ayah. You don't have to understand it as being mansukh, the ayah about don't come to salah when you are drunk. But it's also valid. So don't drink.
Yeah, but it's valid. But it does not mean they can drink. Here you're saying, they can go out. It's contradicting the command. My tafsir that they don't come the prayer drunk. It does not mean that they can drink. But if they did this sin, they should not pray with their sin. But it is still sinful. But when you say women should not go out, but if they go out, they don't do like that. It means going out is allowed. That's what it means. Otherwise, you have to say it is sinful, and this is more sin. But it doesn't. Well, when you say la tabarrajna, it does not mean Christian is that going out. And the second thing I say, I mentioned, this thing actually very important to learn. Really, I always tell people, this alhamdulillah I learned from Ibn Taymiyyah's works really, that language is ishara. Language meaning does not live in the language. Language always refers to something. When the Quran says something, it refers to something. Reference is the Medinan society of the Prophet. What the women did in the time of the Prophet. Did they stay at home or they went outside? Just see. Did they actually change anything after this? Was nothing. Nothing changed. Only change happens now when the men go, they make sure they stay behind the curtain. When women go outside, they put on jilbab. That's how change happened. Certainly, women said sometimes that we don't have jilbab. The Prophet said, okay, borrow jilbab from someone else. So this change happened. But it never happened. The Prophet said to them, don't leave the house. He never happens. Actually, he's the one who encouraged them. Go out, go for Eid prayer. They say, no, we don't want to go. We don't have jilbab. He said, no, borrow jilbab. He's encouraging them. And we our time, because we have wrong meaning, we discourage them. We say, no, don't go outside. Because we say, the Quran says, karna. While the Prophet to whom it was revealed, he is asking women, go outside. Two women came to him and to learn from him, from other tribe, from Ghifar. And he was going to Khaybar. So he said to them, you can sit on my camel, man behind, and then I learn Arabic. And they're sitting on behind him and he's teaching them, on the way. If going out is not allowed, especially it should be more actually haram in the war. Because in the war, women have more problem. But he take them for the war. Even time of Umar Khattab, there's so many women fighting. I mentioned in Yarmouk, there were nearly 35 women fighting. And more women actually outside anyway. And most companions actually used to take their wives in the jihad. They used to take. When Muawiyah wanted to conquer Cyprus, one condition Umar ibn Affan put is, you are only allowed to go if you take your wives with you. You see, if going out is not allowed, especially it should be more forbidden jihad. They never understood Qarna means to stay at home. If they understood this, they should behave like us. We understand it means to stay at home. So you know what we do? We never allow them to go anywhere. Even actually people take their wives for Hajj. They ask them to stay in hotel. You can't pray in the haram. You have to, because women have to stay at home. If the companions understood same thing, they should have done same thing. But they never did the same thing. So the way is always they make effort to find when this verse was revealed, what exactly the Prophet did. How did he live the Medina society? Medina society never changed really. The women's going outside remain as it was before that. It never changed. What changed? Now they put on jilbab. That's all. New change happened. Jilbab is there, but they still go. You have a question, Maria?
Yeah, sorry, just about. And then within the house, if guests come for sit down within the house, not outside wearing jilbab, then it seems here that everything should be behind a hijab. Or now the common practice is as long as the woman of the house is covered. That's okay.
So
people can eat together,
what
which
happens
is better.
When outsider comes, women don't know that somebody is coming. So if they knock the door or something, a woman can come easily, and then open the door, and this person will see the woman. And women inside the house, they are not ready for outside. So sometimes they have no hijab, no scarf. Sometimes maybe the shirt is, or maybe some very tight clothes, like people normal in the house. So Quran is saying that outsiders should be careful. So when you come to knock the door, you should be hiding behind the door. So if a woman opens the door, you can't see her. So but if the women were expecting you, for example, you did party inside the house, and everybody knows that these people are coming, men and women both are coming, then fine, they're ready for that. They're not going to be in the same clothes. They'll be more covered. So then eating together or something like that, that's allowed. As I said, a woman asked Malik rahimahullah ta'ala that I'm eating with my husband, and my ex-husband comes. So can I ask him to sit with me and eat? Malik said, why not? Men and women always have been eating together. That was his answer in Medina. Men and women always have been eating together. So you see, meaning is when they're expecting that the guest is coming, so they are prepared for that. So that women are in the cloth in which they want to be in front of the people. But if they are not expecting and you go suddenly and you knock the door and your eyes are open, your eye will fall on them. So the Quran said, be careful. Then ask them from behind the curtain. You should make sure that you don't see them. When they open the door, you are hiding. But when women are expecting you, the whole family is like a dinner party or something like that, all the people are expecting you, then they prepare for that. Then certainly they ask you to come inside, and they ask you to sit where you can sit. And people used to go in companion's house. There's a companion, female companion. Companions say, it hadith Bukhari very well, that on Friday she used to make some meal. So after Friday prayer, we used to go to her house and eat meal. To see? Because she's prepared. She's the one who is asking them to come. Now they are not going to sit behind the curtain because she's expecting them. So this command to be behind the curtain basically is when women don't expect you. Then you should be careful because they are not prepared. But when they are ready for you, they know their guests are coming. So they are in different clothes. Like you can see in the houses what happens. Okay, if your question, yeah. Is it clear, Umar? Yeah. What is your question? Yeah. You can ask. Yeah.
Assalamu alaikum. The explanation you gave, does that coincide with the explanation given by classical mufassirin, or does your explanation differ with them about the ayat?
This question is a different question, really. My answer, I agreed with Medina, with the Prophet, with the rest of the Quran. But I really don't know what else somebody else has said. But actually, there are in past as well people who say Qarna is from Waqara. This thing not only me. This I know, but I exactly don't know how they relate. This is something which I learned something from my teacher Maulana Shahbaz, and something I developed myself, the whole argument. But this thing that Qarna is from Waqara, this is not new thing. This is old as well. Because there are two opinions. Some people say it is from Qarna, then you have to make all hadf, and some people say from Waqara, then it becomes similar to what I say. Waqara does not mean Qarna. Waqara means to be Waqar. Is it clear? Yeah.
Chef, Jazakallah khair. But there is another interpretation, isn't there, that this ayah is meant for the wives of the Prophet ﷺ. And if that's the case, then it makes more sense because like there's narrations where Aisha radiallahu anha, whenever she used to read this ayah, she used to cry until her khimar got wet because she regretted going out, during the battle of the camel and all of that stuff that happened, because she regretted that, and whenever she used to hear this ayah, she used to say, I should have stayed at home. And then there's other narration about Sauda and other wives of the Prophet, and they were asked, why don't you go on Umrah like the other women do? And they said, they'd already done their Hajj, and they said, because of this ayah. So,
let me make one thing clear. No doubt for the wives of the Prophet, they're the one thing more strict than other women. And that thing really is that when wives, because wives, the Prophet is not only Prophet, he is the ruler, he is the master, he is everything. So in his house, everybody comes. So people are hypocrite, come and everybody comes. They have bad intention. So that's why Umar wanted the wives of the Prophet to be more careful. So some things come only for the wives of the Prophet ﷺ, no doubt. And one of them thing is that when they go outside, they should be more strict. To make the people pass, they can cover that. Not niqab, but when the people pass, and they come to the Prophet, they cover their face as well. So we don't know who these people are. So for the wives of the Prophet, there has been something more strict. But the command never has been to stay at home. Because the Prophet himself said to his wives, قَدْ أُوذِينَ لَكُنَّ فِي الْخُرُوجِ. It is allowed for you to go outside. And they go outside. The reason, Sauda and some other wives, they did not go for Hajj. The thinking was that when the Prophet went for his Hajj, he took all the wives. The reason is because he's thinking maybe they don't get mahram after me. Not easy. I take all of them. So some of them thought, now we have done Hajj anyway, so we don't need to go for Hajj Umrah again. But Aisha did not understand like that. Aisha used to go. Very, very often she used to go. The reason Aisha used to cry is not really because she went out. This is not the reason. The reason is she cried because the Prophet has said, oh Aisha, one of you will pass by the water of Hawab and the dogs will bark. And that means she is not right. Otherwise, the Prophet said, one of you will leave house and she is not right. He didn't say, going her is not problem. But in that story, So when she passed that, she realized really that happened. So whenever she used to read this for anything, she used to connect with that story. That's all. After that, Aisha kept going outside. Not Aisha stopped after that. If she repenting, then she should not do this. But Aisha kept going for Umrah, for Hajj, and for everything, whatever needed. She go to outside very often anyway. Going outside never stopped for Aisha radiallahu anha. So it is not the wives of the Prophet that have been stopped from going outside. Yeah, they have been to be more careful. Means they have to have, more covering than other people. That's all.
And Sheikh, just one more thing. But doesn't waqar also mean be content, like to be content? So it might not mean stay in your house, but it could mean be content with staying at home, because like society is always encouraging women to go out and do things outside the house, but if they can be content at home,
but I don't know where
the house will be more.
How can waqar means content? I don't understand. Waqar, I don't think. And the second thing really for me is more important than that, the Amal of Medina. What exactly people do this? That's why I like Malik's opinion that Amal of Medina is important, because that tells you what exactly Islam meant. Because Amal of Medina is the reference. Because whatever Quran meant, the Prophet has to implement it. If going out was something wrong according to Quran, the Prophet will stop. But after this verse, it never happened. The Prophet never said to anybody for women, don't go outside. It never happens. Only thing you can see new change happens, he asked women to go with jilbab. That's all. He never asked women not to leave the house. You never find any hadith where the Prophet said to the women, don't leave the house. But you find really certainly encourage them to have jilbab. Like this way, Prophet said to the women, go for Eid prayer. The women said, we don't have, some of we don't have jilbab. He said, borrow the jilbab. So you can see the Prophet's king, the women should have jilbab. But the Prophet never commands women. Actually, Anas said once the Prophet ﷺ was in the night, and some women were coming from the wedding party. So, when women come for a wedding party, they always dress nicely and all these things. So an alim like me will be angry. Oh, all these women outside with attractive clothes, and this is not right. The Prophet really loved that. That means his nation happy, women are happy. He were overwhelmed by their happiness. He said, oh Allah, be witness, I love them. So he loved that these women are so happy. They are celebrating. They went for marriage. You see, this is how the Prophet is. When he saw the women going outside, in a party, he was not upset. He was happy that they have freedom. So he wanted to liberate the women from the way of the Jahil. They have freedom. They can do something. Certainly they are covered. So he's happy. If he's not happy, he would say that no. See, these women, they're going like that in a wedding party, and I don't like. But no, actually he said, "Oh Allah, be my witness. I love them." And the Prophet was traveling in for jihad, and women are there. He did not mind, but he said to the people, "Rifqan bil qawarir." Anas said, before narrating this hadith, Bukhari, Anas said to the people, the Prophet said about the women something. If I say, you will accuse me. Means you will accuse me that I love the women or something. The Prophet said, Rifqan bil qawarir. Be soft with the glasses. The Prophet did not stop them, but what he treat them nicely. When they go outside, be soft. Don't rush. Wait for them. You see, you never find the Prophet actually stops women from going out, but he teaches you how to treat them, how to respect them. So certainly we should learn. Muslims should actually learn how to respect the women. That actually one of my teaching all the time is. I always teach people that Muslims really don't respect the women. So they should learn. That's what the Prophet did. Prophet respected the women. And he said, Hubbiba ilayya an-nisa. Women have been made beloved to me. So the Prophet loves women, he respects them. We should respect them. If you respect the women, evil will become less really. The problem is because women really feel, and everybody can say humiliated. They are humiliated in Muslim society. So they should get respect. If you get respect, you will see that they will behave much better way.